Hello, my name is Lisa Wilk. Thank you for coming out tonight. I am a freelance wine and food writer in the area here. I'm also a self-proclaimed shutterbug. I'm a wine educator and I'm a food blogger. So I have a camera in my hand all the time. And what I have noticed over the last 10 years of doing this professionally and semi-professionally is I stopped taking my big camera equipment everywhere and started using my smartphone more and more. So if you go onto my website, shameless plug, Taste Cook Sip, all the imagery that you see there is actually generated from my smartphone. I've stopped taking, the big camera setup with me everywhere. So whether you're blogging or you're using this in your personal life or you're using it for your business, which has nothing to do with food and writing and that type of thing, you really can get a lot of use out of something that you carry with you every single day and not have to necessarily expend in areas that you might not be prepared to expend on with big camera setups. So that's kind of what I'm here to talk about today. So for your convenience, and for those of you who are taking notes, I do have a hyperlinked resource sheet on my website. So if you go to tastecooksip.com and type in smartphone camera tips, that's the direct link to the page, and that will allow you to get right to everything. That's what the page looks like. But you'll see a full list of everything in my presentation to make life a little bit easier for you. I don't have any affiliate links or anything like that. Basically, anything that I've recommended here is from my personal experience, things that I use and have great success with. So hopefully that'll make your life a little bit easier as we're going through the presentation today. So all of the pictures in my slide here, which just blanked. Okay. Have no idea why that happened. All the pictures that you see here on the screen are taken with my smartphone. I shoot with a Samsung Galaxy S5, and I also have an iPad Air, and I like both. I find that for daytime shooting conditions, whether you're outside or inside with some decent light, I don't have any problems shooting with that. If I'm in a studio setup, you can get great pictures no matter what. And if you are shooting at night, there are certainly some challenges, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit later. For those of you who are interested in specifically online content, it's really kind of key to keep in mind when you're taking your pictures that more and more people are online, but more and more people, when they're online, they're not sitting in front of computers. They're not sitting in front of huge screens. They're sitting in front of small screens. They're phableting, tableting, phoning. So keep that in mind when you're taking your pictures and planning to use your digital content, that you want to get the most out of that image, but people are going to be viewing it on a very small screen. And it's impressive as we move further and further down time how many people are getting online. If any of you are on Periscope, there's this great guy on there, Alex Pettit. And if you are into social media, a tweet with more image gets 5 times more engagements and is 36 more likely to get a retweet. So what does that mean? It means that if you're posting a link to your Instagram, that people are going to take notice of that. But if you post that same content, hey, look at this, with that same image that you posted on Instagram, but people can actually see that image, you're going to get a lot more engagement. And it's because you visually captured what's the interest of the person. So getting into the main point of my presentation, photography. Is there anybody here that has studied photography? All right, good. So this is something that you'll find, that's kind of one of the basics, and that's the rule of thirds. But it's a great thing to keep in mind as you're taking pictures. And again, remember, you have this wonderful, wonderful resource with you. Use it. Take lots of pictures. So when we are looking at our image, you're going to break it down into thirds, and you're not going to limit yourself to just centering the focus of your image to the center of the picture. So here, keeping in mind the thirds, I have the focus in the center of the picture, but it's lower. Here, the center and upper right. Over there, you see the center and the lower left. They're still engaging pictures, but you can see where I want your eye to go when you are looking at these photographs. One of the key successes that I have had in capturing great images with my smartphone is finding the light. No matter where I'm at, whether I'm at a media event, whether I'm in an outdoor setting, whether I'm at a personal event that I just want to get a good picture at, don't be afraid to get up and move. Don't isolate yourself, obviously, and don't distract from an event. But it certainly, it will behoove you, if you can move your camera a little bit one way or the other, to go towards that light to get that more engaging image. You really, really should, especially if you're using this for a business application. So find that light. Exposure. It's important to create that balance between light and dark in every picture. As we saw here, you don't have a problem reading this. You can tell it's a wine glass. You can see there's fluid in it. Here, you're not blown out. You have a good balance. You can see the edges of the petals. If you look closely enough, even on the screen, you can see that there's water on the petals. Underexposure. You don't want very dark pictures, especially, remember, you've got people who are viewing your content on small screens. You want to have bright photos that capture that interest. You can have dark and moody photographs, but you don't want to have an underexposed photograph. In the same way, overexposure, you don't want to have something that's completely blown out so that you can't see the focus and you can't, all you're catching is washed out photograph. You want to be able to discern what the subject is. One of the things that I started doing, and do we have Droid or Apple users here? Apple? Okay, all right. So you guys have great screens. You guys have lots of memory. Mine didn't always. Just start taking lots of pictures. Remember, you can delete them. Even if you were just out walking around on a walk, don't be afraid to just start taking pictures of things. Flowers, sky, trees, sidewalk. Create some textures, see those items that are catching your interest. Get to know the challenges of your camera. With your iPhones or with your Droids, you will notice that, especially with iPhones, in a well-lit up area that has that fluorescent light, those things that you might want to correct in post-editing. So understanding when you're taking your picture, okay, if I set my subject up this way, or I'm taking a picture of a grouping, or I'm planning on this subject being lit this certain way, this is something that I can correct with this app later in post-editing. High-res file settings. You guys are lucky since you have iPhones. Your phone comes to you, it's maxed out. You don't have to adjust your res. For those of us who are on Android phones, that's something that you have to go in and change. So just keep your settings maxed out. And the reason why I say that is as you are editing, it's nice to be able to crop things down, zoom things in without the limitations. Also, when you edit and you go from one app to another, your resolution will change. To flash or not to flash, I'm not a big fan of the flashing. Most people, when they flash, especially if I'm trying to take a picture of something that's happening 20 feet away, my flash has stopped 6 feet out, so all I'm catching is white here. If I'm right up on something, you're going to catch a lot of overexposure so that everything appears washed out. So what I'd like to do is, again, move my subject to the camera, to the light source, or have another light source to balance out. So I have a list of a couple of handheld lights that you can use to help balance you out. But if you are taking a picture of something, and that something is right here, and I have my camera here, your flash is only going to hit it from this level. If you don't have light to balance that out from this angle and this angle, you're going to have a very one-dimensional image, and it's going to appear very flat and, again, very washed out. Okay. Okay. So when I took this picture, this is at Constitution Green, and about 6 months ago, they were talking about a developer basically coming in and chopping these 200-year-old oak trees down. And there is a grove of 5 huge oak trees that are about 3 to 5 stories high and a city block long. So I took a picture of them, and you have a nice big grouping of big trees. But you really couldn't get the scale, you couldn't feel it. So I went in to the actual trees, took pictures shooting up, took them from the side, and the image that kind of resonated with me the most were these stools that you could sit in this little grove in Constitution Green. And I got down, and this is me shooting up. So you can actually see that, this is not the trunk of the tree. This is, just the limbs of the tree. But it gives you a perspective that you can appreciate the enormity and kind of how large and majestic these trees were without actually just taking pictures front on. So when you have the shot that you think that's going to work, don't stop there. Go ahead, you've got your camera, take it, move your camera, move yourself, get down. You would be surprised how many times that perfect shot in your head that you think you're definitely going with, 3 shots later from a different angle, that might be the one you like better. And remember, you can always delete. I'm a big fan of deleting. That's my dog. So take the shot from far away and close up. And why do I say that? All right, so yes, that's my cute puppy. But the shot there of the drink, I was in a bar, and it was a restaurant opening. Really cool drink. There's dry ice in it. You can see the puffs coming up over there. And I was trying to, convey how cool this drink was. But from far away, it was just a drink on a bar. You couldn't really see the wisps. You were really kind of paying attention. There were a lot of people around there. So the people were distracting you. And I really wanted people to focus on the contents of the drink. So I was able to crop it all the way in. And to me, that conveys a more captivating image by going in than it did further out. There was just too much going on. And that's just a cute picture of my dog. When you're using things online, it's important to, again, figure out what you're trying to convey. So my point here is to consider minimalist composition for a cleaner shot. But you might look at these pictures and think, there's a lot going on in these shots. There's sprinkles all over the place, there's flowers in the drink. What exactly do you mean? Well, I've zoomed in specifically so that you're seeing this little waffle. This is from Peterbrook in Winter Park. It's gelato inside a waffle and then dipped in chocolate. So they had a whole bunch of them out. You could see them in a case. You could, see them, in a pile on top of each other. But to me, this just kind of brought back those feelings of being a kid, the sprinkles, the fun, and it conveyed what it was. The drink is actually in kind of a stemless wine glass. And if you take a picture of the drink itself, all you were seeing was a drink. If you did an overhead shot, I brought you into the drink so that you could see the artisan components that is what they were trying to impress upon you at this particular restaurant, which happened to be Bull and Bear at the Waldorf Astoria. So you see there's juniper berries, which is one of the elements of the drink. It's a gin drink. You've got these beautiful wildflowers. You have some rosemary. So you have all of these little components which are supposed to be indicators to let you know what you're going to be drinking and what some of those flavors are going to be inside the drink. So I wanted to convey that from that shot. So anytime you're going out, and you guys, might do this already. But the first thing is phone cases. If you have this type of phone case, nothing's, in front of it, it's easy to get to. You're not, flipping stuff around. You can quickly take a shot. You can get to your Zoom if you want to use your Zoom. You can take your pictures. If you have this type of case, you're flip-flopping around all over the place. You might actually block where you're taking your picture, and you can't get your pictures off quickly. So you be thinking about phone cases if you are going to be using your phone as a camera. You might have one type of case for your regular life, and then if you're going out to take pictures, put it in another type of case that's a little more streamlined. Bringing 1 to 2 external batteries. If you are taking pictures and then if you are updating those pictures to your cloud or to Dropbox to back up, you can blow through your batteries really, really quickly. So I always have 1 to 2 batteries. I like the Anchors because they last a long time. You get a lot of rapid charges off of it. You can charge your batteries and your iPads very quickly. So that's what I use. Memory cards, and now there are the Wi-Fi enabled memory cards so that you can actually offload as you're shooting, and those can back up, and I have a link to that. Really, really helpful because, right now on my phone, between my Dropbox and what I have on my phone, that's like 55,000 pictures. That's a lot, but they accumulate. So be thinking about offloading regularly and also redundant backup. Because, we've all been there. Memory cards go bad. So have your cloud and then also have your Dropbox so that you've got things in various places. Back it up to your computer. If these are things that are strong personal memories for you or things that you're making your livelihood out of, you do not want to lose access to it. And I have had friends and colleagues that, if you lose a series of photographs, that really can affect you, personally and professionally. So as many ways as you can back it up, and you can always delete it later, but at least you know that it's there. And again, auto backup to external drive and cloud, it's just so helpful. And if you have a data plan that allows for it, or if you can hook into a Wi-Fi, doing it at that time really is easy. And then if you don't get to your extra manual redundancy where you're hooking up to your computer and offloading, it's not going to be the end of the world if something happens. But if it automatically is backing up to your cloud or automatically backing up to Dropbox or both, you know that those pictures are safe. And if you lose your phone or something happens, it's not the end of your world, which sometimes it can feel like. From a business application, this is something that people don't always think of, and that's, become your own stock photo library. You have your own style that you're developing as a photographer. So don't rely on, cruddy pictures online to use for your, professional or even your personal use online. These are things that you can be cultivating and curating. In my Dropbox, I have different folders for every type of thing. Since I'm a food writer, I have it broken down by restaurants. I have it broken down by content. If you're a person who's, a gardening enthusiast, you could break it down by plants and flowers. You can break it down by dogs and cats. It really is very, very helpful as you are able to then create a lot more of that wonderful active engagement that you see either on Instagram or Twitter or on your Facebook page, your blog posts, your MailChimp, your business. And you're also cultivating and creating that style. And I think that that's one of those things that's really, really important and is, ultimately people's first and lasting impression of you. So here, it's just a quick example that, a seemingly innocent random picture really can convey a lot. Over here, this is at Epcot Food and Wine. I'm standing in the cranberry bogs, but here's the inside of a cranberry. There's my awesome nail polish. You've got the bog down here and the actual picture itself. So if you are in the wine and food world, you have a picture that you can talk about Epcot Food and Wine. You can talk about cranberries if you ever are doing an article on cranberries. Ocean Spray was the sponsor of that particular event. You could be talking about them. If you're a fashion blogger, you can be talking about nail polish. Otherwise, it's just kind of a captivating photo because you're like, clearly this person is standing in the middle of cranberries. What the heck is going on here? From this standpoint, this is when Starbucks rolled out their evening program. So it's a picture of a Riedel stemless wine glass, which has been branded with both Riedel and Starbucks. You have the actual Starbucks evening, which is their message here. And it also mentions the fact that there's beer, wine, and small plates here. So you have a lot going on in the photo from a branding standpoint, but it's also a captivating image. And it's just sitting there in my Dropbox anytime I want to use it. And I've used it. Apps. I talk a lot about apps, and people are always asking me about apps. If you don't take a good picture, an app is not going to turn a really cruddy picture into an amazing picture. So that's where that take pictures of everything comes into place. Because you really do need to get used to your camera, your style. You want to be able to take pictures quickly and proficiently. But apps can do amazing things. And you don't need to be sitting in front of your desktop anymore to edit photos to use online. In this particular instance, I was at a restaurant, and this picture in color really wasn't communicating what I wanted to communicate, which was the fact that this guy is over this grill, which was completely flaming up as he's making these amazing steaks. In black and white, you get that. In color, you were getting the aluminum behind him, the fact that he had a colored hat on, the fact that there was all of these colors in the ingredients that he was cooking. But here, you get that. You get the fact that it's a guy cooking over a grill, being chefy. This picture was great starting out, but this awesome iPhone has a great picture on it. And I just wanted to fade out this a little bit more so that you were really capturing what was going on here in this picture. So really all I did here with an app is make sure that your eye was going here and not spending too much time looking at everything else. And also color correct the hands a little bit. Should you edit outside of Instagram? There are a lot of people who will use Instagram as their primary editing tool. I think it's fine to edit in Instagram, but anytime I'm using Instagram, it's usually with an edited photo. What is an edited photo? Well, if you're taking pictures now, if you're using Instagram natively, as it has been used for the last umpteen years, you're used to the square format. So the first thing you're usually going to do is crop it down into a square or get it down to the 4:3 so that you can get the image that you want in the right size. Because if you just try and put in your regular format, you've got a lot going on outside of the actual image area. So what I do is I'll take, say, like this photo over here, cropped it down to the 4:3, and I sharpened up the water feature a little bit so that this was the focus and this was not. With this, I just cropped it down a little bit, and I made sure that the contrast was where I wanted it to be so that the focus was on the ball because it was at dusk. I get a lot of inquiries about watermarking, and you can watermark every photo that you put online in an email blast on your website. And if somebody wants to take your image and use it themselves somewhere else, they will find a way to do it. You can put a watermark in a very strategic place. I'm a person who feels that I don't want a watermark to take away from what I am doing creatively in the picture or what I'm trying to communicate in the picture. So this actually was on my blog, so it has my blog as opposed to just my regular, online social media one. And in this instance, if I'm putting it up in a blog post or if I'm putting it out somewhere that I want my brand to be out there, I also will put it on social media with that same watermark, and will hashtag when I'm posting on Twitter, when I'm posting on Instagram, so that I can create that audience on there. So if you follow me on my blog account on Instagram, you'll see I hashtag everything, and I'll usually watermark. I would say 75% of my stuff I watermark. So I would say that if you are looking to create a brand for yourself, that is why watermarking is important. Because the right people will see your watermark, and they will remember that. And that as this picture, as your photo, gets passed along in the proper ways, your brand is there. So when Urban Spoon picked up this picture and then put it in their national newsletter, my brand was out there. But if some dude who's a food blogger who just wants a picture of a Nan basket and a bread basket wants to steal my photo, he can crop that section out and steal it. And I can then send him an email saying, please don't steal my stuff. And we go from there. Or if the restaurant says, hey, nice picture, I'm going to crop this out and I'm going to use it on my menu. Or for my advertising, I can then say to them, hey, please don't do that, that's my picture. But you're not going to stop people from stealing your content. I would say look at it from a positive way, which is the right people who are getting to know your brand, who are getting to know you, who are looking for those digital impressions are going to see you. But unfortunately, once you put it out there, it's out there. So that's kind of the good and the bad with it. If you're using your phone, you are probably using these apps, but I like to put them out there in case they're new to you or you're not using them. They are available for iPhone and Android users, and if you go to my online resource page, you can actually link directly. I've linked them to the stores because, of course, as we all know, there are apps that kind of sound like these now, since they're all very popular apps, and you don't want to download the one that has malware. So there's the right one. Snapseed I have at the top of the list because that's probably the one that I use the most. It's a good solid app. It can do just about everything. They had a big update about 10 months ago where their interface changed a lot. And there are things that I like about it and things that I don't like about it. But still, if you're looking for a really decent all-in-one app that's outside of the actual photo editor that comes with your phone, that's the one that I use. And I have to be frank that the Droid In app, the Droid In phone editor really kind of stinks. So this is my go-to for everything. If you're looking for a little bit more specialized type things, as far as text overlay and that type of thing, there are a lot of, unfortunately Snapseed doesn't do that, but Phonto does it, and so does Photoware and a couple of others on there. If you're looking for if you're developing your style and you're looking for a fun app that has some really cool filters to it, the VSCO Cam is a free app, and then you can purchase filters for like $1 or $2, and sometimes they have specials. But if you are anybody who's doing any kind of digital magazine work, who is into food blogging, fashion blogging, who is into any type of artistic look, it really does have some very nice preset filters in it. And I would say definitely take a look at that one because that is a fun one to play around with, especially if you're trying to get some of those dynamic, say, moody images, or if you're trying to emulate a look that you've seen elsewhere. It's really, really easy to do with that. And of course, Photoshop is a wonderful one to use as well. But I find myself, again, if you take a decent foundation photo, generally all you're needing to do is cut it down, maybe adjust the exposure in a couple of areas if your lighting isn't completely the way you want it, and if you're going to watermark it. So you can pretty much do that between Snapseed and Phonto or Photoware. So those are the ones that I kind of use the most. And speaking of moody and edgy, these are ones I was in St. Augustine this weekend. These are photos. This one's cut down to 4:3 so that you can actually fit that whole photo into Instagram. If you take this one, you're only going to get about this much onto Instagram. As far as editing goes with these, the only thing I did was I was getting a little sunlight here, took that off, and then I wanted to kind of play on the stucco feel of the photo. So I used in VSCO I think it was the A5, which is a kind of a mono, and then grained it up a little bit, and that gives you that nice rich look to it. It takes 2 seconds. If you're looking for online photography resources, these are just a wealth of information. Any type of question that you have about anything, these 3 places have your answers. If you are into blogging and food at all, the White on Rice couple has an incredible digital photography school. And even if you're not, and you just are a photo enthusiast who wants to know more and kind of take your game up, they're amazing. I've seen them speak at a couple of different conferences, and they're just a wealth of information. Digital photography school, it's like you have enrolled, and you really can get some nice information, quick capture of information. You know, and YouTube, I've linked this to specifically to some camera tutorials and photography tutorials, and I was surprised when I was kind of going through there at all of the great information that was on there. You know, there's some garbage too, but it's the internet. And then as far as stuff that I use and stuff that I take, which I've kind of referenced already, I always have a big, huge monster battery with me that I can charge an iPhone or an iPad 3 times on. And you would be like, well, why? Well, because by the time I take 100 to 300 pictures, because that's generally what I take in a setting if I'm out somewhere, as long as it's not too long. And then those upload to my Dropbox, you know, your battery's gone. So I generally will have my external hooked up to my phone the whole time so that I don't have to worry about any interruption, because on my Droid, it will stop uploading to Dropbox if I hit like 20 or 18% of my battery. There's a nice small one. Again, I'm a fan of Anchor, only because they don't burn out. They say that, you know, that they can get 1,000 to 2,000 recharges. I test that. They work. They're not hundreds of dollars, but they work. Tripod with a camera holder. If you're doing any kind of still work, it really does help. And there are some great little tripods out there. So, and I even have a little remote so that you don't have to, you know, get any type of shaking. If you're doing any kind of set work where you're taking pictures of a still life or a setup for any type of spread, it really is nice to have that. And again, you have a great tool here, and I have taken pictures side by side between my big beast setup and this. And if you've got the right lighting, you just don't notice the difference. So why wouldn't you take advantage of that? So treat it like the tool that it is, and, you know, maybe spend a couple $100s on accessories, you know, by the time it's all said and done, but you will have spent that wisely, because you will get that mileage in a way that you might not anticipate. Okay, tablet holder, if anybody is doing video, or I do video, Periscope, all of that on this. So I have a tablet holder that you could just pop right on your tripod. It's amazing. External memory, that will link, and this works with your iPhones, so take a look at that. Light, square LED. So again, you can do fill lights, which you can do yourself. You can hook onto a tripod. So if you're using flash and you have a tripod over there, you can really fill it out nicely. This one's only like $29, and it works great. This one is very expensive, but it works great. Okay, and then, you know, just to illustrate, you know, this was taken at dusk We were on the lake by my house, and it was with my camera phone. And you see how big it is right now. So you see that the resolution is there, the lighting is there. It's, this is what you can do with your phone now. This was this past weekend up in St. Augustine. Just pretty.